Hi there. Um, I had all kinds of plans for a book talk to give for this month's newsletter, but ultimately, when writing about our Pride theme of the month, empathy, I landed on Mockingbird by Catherine Erskine. And this book holds a special place in my heart. I happen to have the cover image up from Amazon, and you can see that I first bought this book in 2017 because my daughter was in fifth grade and her class was reading it. And I always made it a habit of buying the books my kids were reading so I could read along with them and know what to talk to them about. So, Mockingbird happens to be the story of a young lady who is on the autism spectrum. At the time, they called it Asperger's. They no longer use that distinction. So today, we would simply say she has autism spectrum disorder and has a difficult time making social connections with folks. She works with a great counselor at her school to help her do that. Her older brother was recently killed in a school shooting. And so, some pretty heavy topics in this book. And I read it. I thought it was a great book and kind of moved on. And that same year was the Sandy Hook shooting. And I can remember going to pick up my children who were in kindergarten and fifth grade at the time, and the school that they attended. They were both in the same school, and pulling up and being really overwhelmed thinking about the families that went to the school in Connecticut whose children didn't come out. And I went home and I was reading the news and I was crying. And my daughter asked me, "Mom, what are you upset about?" And I said, "Well, do you remember what happened in the book Mockingbird?" I said, "That happened in real life." And so that was the first time I had used a book to help me connect with my daughter and to help her make sense of the larger world. And then a year later, she was in sixth grade and really, really frustrated with one of her classmates. And the way she was describing this classmate to me, it kind of clicked. I kind of knew what she was talking about. And I was like, "Hun, you remember the girl in Mockingbird and how she had something called Asperger's and she had a hard time connecting with folks?" And my daughter remembered. And I said, "I think your classmate might be like that. I think he might have a hard time reading facial expressions and making eye contact and making social connections." And that was enough for my daughter to understand this other child, to have empathy for this other child. They never became best friends, right? This isn't like an after school special, but it gave her the ability to understand where this child was from, not take it personally, and stop fighting. So today I am sharing with you just a little bit of Mockingbird by Catherine Erskine, because in my experience, it helped my own children build awareness and empathy, and I hope it will do the same for yours. I'm going to start with chapter 2. Look at the person. "Caitlin," Dad says, "the whole town is upset by what happened. They want to help." "How?" "They want to be with you, talk to you, take you places." "I don't want to be with them or talk to them or go places with them." He sighs. "They want to help you deal with life, Caitlin, without Devin." "I don't know what this means, but the people come to our house. I wish I could hide in Devin's room, but I'm not allowed in there now. Not since the day our life fell apart and Dad slammed Devin's door shut and put his head against it and cried and said, 'No, no, 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 no.' So I can't go to my hidey hole in Devin's room anymore. And I miss it. I try to hide in my room and draw, but Dad comes and gets me. There are so many voices in our house. Voices from Devin's Boy Scout troop. I recognize their green pants. And the nice things they say about Devin. Voices of relatives. Dad introduces me to them. He says, 'You remember,' and then he says a name. I say, 'No,' because I don't remember. Dad says to look at the person, so I look quickly at the nose or a mouth or an ear, but I still don't remember. One voice says, 'I'm your second cousin.' Another says, 'Wasn't it a beautiful memorial service?' Another says, 'I love your drawings. You're a very talented artist. Will you draw something for me?' One even says, 'Aren't you lucky to have so many relatives?' I don't feel lucky, but they keep coming. Relatives we hardly saw when Devin was here, so how can they help? Neighbors like the man who yelled at Devin to get off his lawn. How can he help? I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to encourage you to check out Mockingbird by Catherine Erskine and read it with your kiddos. And I hope you have a wonderful November. It's a quick month with a lot of stuff. And best of luck to you getting through this month, the beginning of the holiday season, and happy reading.